Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. My original lecture had just terrible sound quality, so I ended up having to re-record. We had some really good questions in the live, so at the end I'll try to reiterate what some of those were. But otherwise, get ready for some really good content. Hopefully you guys will learn a lot from this. And if you have any specific questions about it, you can either email me or write in on the Hormone Detox Facebook group, the Healthy Hormone Tribe, and we'll make sure that any of your questions get answered. So first, a little disclaimer that this presentation is for educational purposes only. It's not meant to diagnose or treat any specific condition. So you should definitely speak with your healthcare provider, your physician, if you have specific issues that you need addressed. So who is this workshop for? Anyone seeking hormone balance. So whether you are male or female, we all have hormones. I think it was mostly women who signed up for this particular workshop. But some of this information you definitely want to share with your male loved ones too. So for women, anyone suffering from PMS, irregular menstrual cycles, painful periods, stubborn weight gain, migraines, anyone really suffering from weight gain or migraines, allergies, asthma, anxiety, insomnia, fatigue, brain fog, any of those conditions would benefit from general detoxification and hormone support. And anyone wanting to learn more about what their daily toxin exposures are and how to really clean that up. So a little bit more about me before we begin. I think some of you on here know me pretty well, but just in case you don't, my name is Katie Rose, and I'm a licensed naturopathic physician in Tucson, Arizona. My practice specializes in hormone balance and getting to the root cause of hormonal issues, and I have a special passion for fertility and women and couples struggling trying to conceive. And we do talk a lot about chemical exposures when we're doing those types of appointments. So this is definitely relevant to those couples as well. I am also a very chemically sensitive human being. And for me, this has meant a lifetime of having to avoid certain perfumes, the aisles at the grocery store that have all of the air fresheners and candles and laundry detergents, because for me, at least, it means almost an immediate headache, sometimes shortness of breath or like a tightness in the chest. And for a long time growing up, I thought I was just like some kind of weirdo. Every roommate I had who, wanted to light smelly candles or use air fresheners, I thought that I was just completely over the top sensitive and ridiculous when I had to go hide in my room anytime stuff like that was around. And as I learned more and more about these products and the chemicals in them when I was in medical school taking my environmental medicine classes, I learned that if anything, I was just a canary in a coal mine. Just because I was the only one having acute symptoms related to these exposures, we all have a certain amount of buildup from the toxins that are in these products. So we'll talk about what those are in a couple more slides. So every single day in my practice, I see how environmental toxins affect our health and hormones. There's even certain tests that you can run to identify the buildup of these in the body. And I know firsthand how overwhelming it can be to know where to begin when you're quote unquote detoxing. And so whether that means just starting to switch out products in your home to, what supplements do you take? What symptoms do you look for? So hopefully this workshop will provide some information on that for you. So what are some common sources of daily exposure? For women, beauty care products are a big one. I read a study that said the average woman has 12 different products that she uses on a daily basis. So that's shampoo and conditioner and body wash and lotion and face wash and face moisturizers and sunscreen and makeup. So we don't think about these things because they're just part of our daily routine, but especially with things that you're applying to your skin, and it's really getting straight into the pores, especially while you're showering or right after a shower. This is getting into your bloodstream as well. So some of the ingredients in them are like the perfumes, the parabens, the phthalates. Those are all potential sources of toxins, and these have the effect of inflammation for our immune system, our nervous system, and our endocrine system, which is what encompasses all of our hormones. Furniture and rugs are also a source of potential toxins, and this is mostly like conventionally made furniture. So with wood furniture, anything that has wood that's been kind of pressed together or that has certain varnishes on them, these have the potential to off gas. And if you've ever like refinished a piece of wood furniture and you use, a standard hardware store varnish, like that smell of off-gassing varnish. And it's pretty heavy duty. So that's really obvious, but even once it's cured, it has the potential to release some of those toxins for a long, long time afterwards. And the same is true of rugs and furniture, most of which are kind of infused with flame retardants. So seems good in theory. Obviously, if you have a fire, you want something not to be as combustible. However, these toxic compounds have been studied in relationship to decreasing testosterone levels, increased brain inflammation, and issues with the immune system not being as robust. So mattresses are another source that we definitely see flame retardants being used widely on mattresses. Cookware, food storage, water bottles, so anything that your food or water is coming into contact with. In terms of cookware, you definitely want to look more towards using stainless steel or cast iron versus some of the like Teflon coated products that are now associated with cancers, and obviously with food storage, minimizing use of plastic, especially for foods that are going to be hot or foods that are going to be reheated in the microwave, because all of these plastics have the potential to leach some of those chemicals into your food, which is very undesirable. And then in terms of water bottles, really avoiding plastic water bottles, especially the flexible plastic disposable ones. If they've been sitting out longer than a week, they're going to have some of that plastic chemical in the water. And for reusable plastic water bottles, there are BPA-free water bottles now. BPA is one of the chemicals that has been studied in relation to hormone disruption, and it was a really big deal, especially for like baby bottles, because they were seeing hormone disruptions in children who had been drinking out of baby bottles that were not BPA-free. But even now that we're looking at some of the other chemicals beyond BPA, we're realizing that a lot of them have really similar effects. They just haven't been well studied yet. So really trying to use glass or stainless steel whenever possible is going to be your best bet. And then what potential exposures are we getting in our food? And pesticides are a big conversation these days. In our naturopathic world, we've told people for a long, long time to avoid food that's been exposed to pesticides. But now with the company Monsanto being ordered to give a $183 million settlement to a man who was diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer, related to toxin exposure from the Roundup pesticide use. It's getting a lot of attention in the media. But there's more pesticides than just Roundup. That's probably just the one that gets the most attention. So you can go to the Environmental Working Group website, which is the ewg.org, and they have a list of the most common foods that have pesticide exposure. So it's called the Dirty Dozen list. And every year they put out the 12 foods that have the most pesticide residue. And, from a logical standpoint, if you think about which foods you're eating the skin of, so leafy greens and berries and apples are always in the top group of the Dirty Dozen. And then usually we also see tomatoes, peppers, celery, and oddly enough, potatoes in that group as well. And then they also have the list of the Clean 15. So for people who are just starting to make that transition into buying more organic, and the price is really intimidating to make that switch for some people, it doesn't have to be everything right away, although it is a good idea to go organic as much as humanly possible. In addition to pesticides, we also have antibiotic exposure in our meats. And what that antibiotic exposure has led to is not only the antibiotic resistance that we're seeing in hospital-borne infections, things like MRSA, resistant urinary tract infections, or UTIs, but also disruption of our overall gut microbiome. And our gut microbiome is full of billions of different types of bacteria, some considered more beneficial, some considered less beneficial, but there's a balance of this bacteria. And antibiotics don't discriminate, and they will kill off everything in the GI tract. So when you're trying to choose meats, look for meats that are labeled as no antibiotics ever. One of the reasons, in addition to just keeping the animals free from infection, is they found that antibiotics are really helpful in plumping up their livestock or their chickens, so fattening them up more quickly so that they can be ready for slaughter sooner. And if you think about what that does to animals, we're seeing a similar effect in humans, in the sense that changing the gut microbiome actually changes how we put on weight. So especially for people with resistant weight, buying your meats organic is going to be really important, looking for that no antibiotic ever label. And an even better bet would be to start shopping your local farmers markets, finding out what ranches are close to you so that you can shop local for those. Okay, so this slide goes over some of the most toxic compounds found in beauty and skincare products. I'm not going to go through each one because you can always pause the workshop and go through those individually, but I just wanted to highlight all the potential sources of issues in our beauty and skincare products. And so when you're reading ingredients, if you can't understand, if you can't translate what an ingredient is, and you come back to this list, it may help to kind of translate for you a little bit better. And a general rule of thumb is, if you read it and you wouldn't eat any of those, then you probably don't want it on your skin either. And this is just an example of, all of the different things that many women are exposed to on a daily basis and what some of the chemicals in them are linked to. So again, you can just pause and go through these one by one if you want to. All right, how does our body deal with these toxins? This is really important, and all of our individual genetics will affect how this happens in the body. So, what one person's body does with toxins might be a little bit different from another person's, as we see with some people who are more chemically sensitive. So, initially, we're exposed to the toxins, they get into the bloodstream, and then they have to go through the circulation in the liver. And this phase 1 detoxification basically breaks things down so that they're then able to go to phase 2. So after phase 1, you're actually left with an intermediate toxin, and these are often more toxic than the initial toxin was in the first place. So I'll give you an example: alcohol. after alcohol's phase 1 detoxification, you are left with the acetaldehyde, and this is what actually makes people feel really crappy and hungover. So that's one of our most obvious examples, but this happens with the perfumes and the pesticides and all of these other products also have to go through this phase 1, and then we deal with this toxic intermediate. Once they go through phase 2, they're made water soluble, and then they can be eliminated through sweat, through the kidneys, or through bile in the intestines, if we're having regular bowel movements. So this is very, very dependent on your liver health, your overall detoxification health, how well you methylate your vitamins, and it's a lot to take in. And so if you're doing this on your own, it may seem kind of overwhelming, but there's a lot of great resources out there to understand these better. This is a slide that shows all of the different cofactors that are necessary for phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So in phase 1, all the B vitamins, but specifically B2 and B3 are really important. Vitamins A, C, D, E, glutathione, selenium, those are 2 major antioxidants. Quercetin, milk thistle. Milk thistle actually helps promote our own glutathione production. And then phase 2, you're still going to have some of those B vitamins, lots of amino acids, and glutathione again. So you can see glutathione's one antioxidant that's really important for our detox systems. And what symptoms might you look for if you're worried about toxin exposure, or you think you may need to do some kind of detoxification and start cleaning up your environment? So in my practice, fatigue, insomnia, and weight gain are probably the top 3. And these are, overall symptoms that something else, something is underlying this. Those in and of themselves aren't perfect diagnoses. They're just a symptom that there's something underlying it that needs to be dealt with on a deeper level. But we also see skin issues like acne, eczema, and psoriasis, brain fog or memory issues, headaches and migraines, PMS, and mood changes like anxiety, depression, irritability. And because my practice has a focus in fertility, fertility in and of itself is a symptom. So even if PMS and mood changes and weight gain aren't part of the overall picture, fertility is really a sign of vitality. And when a couple or woman can't conceive, this is a sign that there is something underlying that needs to be looked at a deeper level as well. Okay, so we just, we went through a lot of information pretty quickly. So where do you even begin with all of this? And one place is just, making simple changes. Avoiding is number 1. So, if my number 1 secret is avoiding the toxins, you then have to give the body what it needs in terms of the cofactors. So you saw that with the B vitamins, the glutathione, your vitamins A, E, D. So a really, really well-rounded supplement group can be helpful in detoxification. But you also want to make it fun, because I can't tell you how many times I've told people point blank, you've got to stop wearing your perfume or cologne or your Bath and Body Works stuff. And they look at me like I've lost my mind. Where I actually had a patient say to me a couple weeks ago, if I can't wear my perfume, my kids won't know who I am, because she's worn the same perfume for 30 years. And when I started telling her about how the perfume industry uses certain chemicals from the petrol industry, called petrochemicals, to concentrate and make a scent more long-lasting, she was pretty horrified. So if you've made it to this point in the workshop, then you obviously want to know this information, but it's not information that's readily available to consumers. You're not going to a department store to buy your perfume and looking at the ingredients of it. And even if you are, these ingredients don't have to be labeled. The FDA doesn't require that fragrances tell us what's in the fragrance. So when a company lists fragrance on a label for perfume or any sort of hygiene product, that could be any number of 700 different chemicals, and usually has very little of the actual essential oil, like a rose or sandalwood. It's usually a tiny bit of that, and then the petrochemicals used to concentrate and make it more long lasting. And these are chemicals that have a really long half-life in the body. So whereas pesticides half-life is a few days to a couple weeks depending on the person, these petrochemicals can linger in the body for years. So if you think about applying something every day, twice a day, this is going to sit in the body and disrupt these detoxification systems and your hormones and your neurological system for years to come. And it definitely is cumulative. So avoidance is first step, and starting with what you have control over, so what you can apply to your own body. Sometimes it's hard if we're out in public, we're at work, we can't control what other people are wearing or what other people are cleaning with, but you can control what's applied to your own body. So okay, enough of that rant. So how do we make this fun? For me, essential oils have been what's made this way more fun. And I, for a long time, was very resistant to using essential oils or recommending them because I just didn't have enough knowledge or experience. And given my history with chemical sensitivity, I was afraid that even the essential oils would bother me. So it took, several years of people asking me to try essential oils or what I thought of them for me to actually just give it a go. And I'm very glad I did, because I found that there are many oils that I can tolerate and make this whole process more refreshing overall, because I was just cleaning my house with vinegar and my husband couldn't stand it. So now that we have some alternatives, it's been a lot more fun. First, I want to talk essential oil safety. There are a lot of different promoters out there of certain essential oils who have been advising internal use. And this is something that I definitely want to advise extreme caution with. In my medical school training, we were advised never to use an essential oil internally unless it's a very specific situation and medically supervised. So if you've been using essential oils internally, maybe you haven't suffered any ill effects from that, but I do just want to let you know that these can be really powerful substances. It is a very, very concentrated version of these plant constituents, and some of these in and of themselves have the ability to be toxic to the liver or kidneys when used improperly. So you do want to use them very carefully and mindfully, and when in doubt, ask a medical provider or a certified aromatherapist about how to use them. In terms of applications, diffusion, which is using something akin to like a humidifier, but they're more specific for diffusing oils, which is a fantastic alternative to using things like Glade plugins or Febreze, because it still gives you the opportunity to have great smelling space without having the constant exposure to those chemicals. Sprays like room sprays or body sprays are also a great way to use a diluted essential oil. I have a patient who makes some wonderful blends, and that's actually one of the ways that I started out using essential oils. She had some mental clarity blends, some focus blends that I actually bought for my husband while he was studying for his boards. And he's not into woo-woo stuff, but he was like, oh my God, I swear this stuff really helps. So they really do have the potential to change the energetics of a space or a mood and have some positive effects. Diluting in carrier oils and applying topically is considered a safe route for most adults. I have some instructions a couple slides later on how to dilute, to what degree they're diluted. Using them in baths. So you want to be wary of, just dropping it straight onto the bath water because the oils will float on the surface. And this was something that was brought up in our original workshop from a certified aromatherapist who was on the workshop. That she uses infused Epsom salts or bath salts, sea salts for baths because the salts will really help carry the oil, help it diffuse more evenly in the water. And then, of course, Epsom salts, sea salts are also very detoxifying in and of themselves. For cleaning, you can use water with a couple tablespoons of vinegar in about a 32-ounce spray bottle with up to about 20 drops of your favorite essential oils. I'll talk about the favorite one that I use in the next slide. And then we talked about for ingestion. There are a lot of people out there promoting ingestion of essential oils. And in general, this is not something that I prescribe in my practice. Okay, so my favorite oils for daily use are lavender, lemon, and peppermint. And these can be used on their own or in blends to really support overall balance and well-being, allergies, headaches. They all have really nice scents that most people universally enjoy. And they have so many applications. They're kind of like, I use a lot of homeopathy in my practice. There's these remedies called polycrests that cover a wide range of issues. And, these top three are really like the polycrests of essential oils. And then Thieves. Thieves is a blend of essential oils used to mostly support the immune system and also purify surfaces or the air of pathogens. And the history behind Thieves is really interesting. So during the plague, when there were robbers who would go around and rob the graves, they were trying to avoid getting the plague themselves. And so they would use clove and rosemary and lemon and cinnamon to help prevent them from catching the bug. And so this has been formulated into a blend that has been shown to have similar effects in, preventing bacterial growth on surfaces and possibly supporting our immune systems as well. Okay, when it comes to hormone-specific blends, there does seem to be a certain synergistic quality of using a couple different oils together at one time. But if you only have a few oils, then you can always start with lavender. I mean, it really does cover so many issues. And I did misspell lavender there, which is annoying, but what are you going to do? So for menstrual cramps, lavender, rose, chamomile, ylang-ylang, eucalyptus, peppermint are all potential options that you can use. And you can use them by themselves. You can use them in a blend. In the next slide, we'll talk about how to dilute properly for safe topical usage. But I myself have had really good experience with using the lavender and peppermint together. I have patients who specifically have told me about this blend that has been really, really helpful. And just literally applying right over the lower pelvic area as menstrual cramps come on. And I've been able to avoid lots of use of ibuprofen and Midol using this. For PMS, so depression, anxiety, irritability, clary sage, frankincense, and rosemary probably have the most reputation for easing those symptoms. There's also a product from Young Living called Progessence Plus that actually has some wild yam-based progesterone and essential oils, which really support the absorption and the utilization of the progesterone, which can help ease the PMS symptoms as well as easing some of the hormonally regulated migraines. So I had a patient that came to me with Progessence earlier this year, and I, kind of kind of rolled my eyes at first because I was like, oh, here we go, another one of these. And I thought to myself, okay, I need to be a little more open-minded about these things. So I said, you know what, your symptoms do indicate that you have progesterone deficiency. And if this is a place that you want to start and I can monitor you through, then let's give it a try. You already have it, and let's just see what it does. And I was so surprised and impressed at how well it worked, that I have recommended it to several other patients in the last, that was in January, so really in the last 11 months, and seen overall positive performance with it. And then for migraines, there's a couple blends that have been helpful for people, but in general, peppermint, marjoram, ginger, and lavender, either in a warm or a cool application, just depending on what someone's migraine triggers are and what they prefer topically, the sensation of warm or cool. So it can be, you can put a few drops of each of these on some cold, some ice water, and then soak a cotton washcloth in it and drain it out really well, and then apply it over the head. Of course, avoiding the eyes. You never want to get essential oils in the eyes. And that can really help alleviate migraines. And for people who prefer warm, then you can always apply that on warm water instead. So other blends that I found to be really useful for just the general, mild to moderate headache, not necessarily migraine, peppermint and lavender seem to be really helpful. For allergy support, peppermint, lemon, and lavender. So, my top three. And again, I've been so surprised at how fast this can work for some people when it's applied, either just behind the ears or even just kind of sniffed, under the nostrils, or sometimes I'll actually apply it on an acupuncture point on the hand that's just between the thumb and the first finger. There's kind of that meaty part of your hand that you can massage the oil into as well. For general energy support, frankincense and peppermint. For focus, ginger, rosemary, and grapefruit. And really, the options are endless. So, these are generally what have been helpful in my life and in my practice. However, anytime you're avoiding, all the toxins that we talked about earlier in this workshop, and you're replacing them with a non-toxic substitute, you are already supporting your hormones and your immune system and your neurological system. So the options are endless, and my advice is just to start playing around with it. Choose some blends that you really, really enjoy the smell of. You can even wear them as perfumes, and go from there, based on what your specific issues are. You can talk to someone who's more experienced with oils to find out if there's blends that support your needs. All right, when it comes to safely diluting, so if you're creating your own blend, I love using the little roller balls from Amazon that they come in like a 24 pack. Which are great for being able to make as gifts, or if you're just an oil hoarder and you want lots of blends like me, 24 pack is great. So they're usually a 1 ounce, and I use a carrier oil like avocado oil, fractionated coconut, or sweet almond. And to that, I'll add between 5 and 20 drops total of the various essential oils. So for example, with the allergy support blend, I'll use 5 to 6 drops of each of the lavender, peppermint, and lemon. And then once they're diluted, you can just apply easily like, an old-fashioned roll-on deodorant. You can apply the roller ball to any point that, seems relevant to you. So for me, I'll often use them on certain acupuncture points, like with the allergy one on the hand between the thumb and first finger. Migraines, you can roll it right near the temples, just, as far away from the eye as you can get. And, for musculoskeletal pain or for cramps, you just apply right over where the local area of pain is. And just back to safe dilution, with spray bottles, I'll usually use about the same number of drops for like a 2-ounce spray bottle of water. And I should have put that in there, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, so if you are totally new to oils, you don't have any oils, you don't have diffusers, you're not even sure where to begin, Young Living does have really great promotional deals for people to sign up and get used to playing with oils. This is how I ultimately decided to bring oils into my life beyond, the couple that I gotten here and there, because I wanted to try everything. Once I was in, I just wanted to try them all. And this was a really good deal to be able to try. They have 11 different oils in their pack. They have the diffuser. They have some of their Thieves Cleaner, which I'm completely addicted to. I know people who have made their own Thieves Cleaner. I have not personally been able to get a blend just right, trying to make it on my own. So, I suck it up and get it, and it's actually been a really good deal. So this is what I have found to be a really good deal. Obviously, there's other brands of oils. This is not the only one out there. They do have really good regulation of their oils. I know some people are turned off by the model of companies like Young Living, and you have to ultimately do what works for you and your family and what you feel comfortable with. But I have found it to be really, really easy to use their company and their products. So when you get one of their premium starter kits, they usually retail at $160. And like if someone were to buy one through me, Young Living always gives that person who's enrolling someone $25 back. So I would kick most of that back straight to anyone who wanted to order. And when you do sign up using a premium kit, then you do get discounts on all of your future Young Living orders. I think it's 20% discount. So if you did want to, you could either reach out to me on Facebook or through my email. But this is this would be the sponsor number and enroller number that you could use. Other great companies for oils. If you check out our Healthy Hormone Facebook group, one of the members who was on the original live workshop did mention one of her favorite lavender companies. She's visited several lavender farms in person and has made some amazing blends using their products. So I can't remember what the name of the company was, but I know she listed it there for us. But Mountain Rose Herbs and Plant Therapy are two other well-known, highly reputable companies for essential oils. So like if you already have your diffuser and everything pretty much set up and you just don't know where to start, those are good options too. And then beyond just, avoiding toxins, replacing those things with essential oil-based products, there's other tips that you can do at home to support detoxification and hormone balance. So one of my favorites is castor oil packs. And you can do these over the liver. If you search online, directions for castor oil packs, you're going to find a lot of different resources. And castor oil is a really detoxifying oil. It's very viscous, so you don't want to get it on like your nice sheets or nice towels or clothing. But it helps to really support good bile production in the liver, to draw out toxins, and overall really safe. For some women, I would not use it during the menstrual cycle, however, because it can promote a little bit of a heavier bleed. So typically I would only use it for, 3 weeks out of the month in many women. Dry brushing is another option for promoting good lymphatic flow, good detoxification at the level of the skin cells. And this is using like a natural bristle brush, and you're brushing from the end of the limbs towards the heart. Promote that healthy lymphatic flow. And this is something that you can do before taking a shower. And there's also ways that you can adjust your shower to support good lymphatic flow and detoxification as well. So contrast hydrotherapy, which literally just means using different temperatures of water applied to the body to elicit a certain response. So alternating hot, cold showers is one way to support this. And if you're doing this in the shower, you don't need to necessarily go from scalding hot to freezing cold. You really want to start with temperature to tolerance and then gradually make the temperature shift a little bit more extreme over time. But ultimately, you want to be getting about a 2-to-1 ratio of hot to cold. So if you do 2 minutes of hot, try for 1 minute of cold. And always end with cooler, because the cold will vasoconstrict while the heat vasodilates. And so if you end with vasodilation, then you can get some stagnation of energy. So you want to make sure you end with having those vessels with really good tone. Okay, and then the last of my favorites is called seed cycling. And this is literally a way to use certain seeds and their specific ratios of fatty acids to support the hormones at different points in the cycle. So for women who are still getting their cycle, or also for women who have very irregular periods, or women who have not been getting their periods at all, in the follicular phase, we use pumpkin and flaxseed. And then in the luteal phase, I will use sesame and sunflower. Much easier to type while you're not recording, but here we are. And typically I would say 2 tablespoons of each. The seeds are best if they are originally raw and in their whole form, and then you can always grind them down if you need to. For like flaxseed, if you have a coffee grinder that you use for herbs or seeds, that's a really great way to use it. For people who time is of the essence, making sure that you get an organic flaxseed that has like a resealable type of bag that you can then pour into like a glass container, so that again you're not getting like constant plastic exposure. That works too. But it has been surprising at how well something like seed cycling can support a woman's cycle. Okay, so some other resources to support hormones. I did write an ebook earlier this year that you can find on my website. It's called 7 Steps to Healthier Hormones. And these are just really simple, widely applicable tips to help promote better sleep, talking about the right types of foods that support hormones, hydration, stress, breathing, all of those types of things that factor in. There are some great books out there. Dirty Genes is one that's really interesting and helpful in understanding how our different unique genetic polymorphisms, so our little differences in our genetic code and how those genes are turned on and off, can affect how we detoxify and what symptoms we might expect to see based on those. For people who are really looking to clean up their skincare and understand how toxins and hormones and what we eat affects our skin, Clean Skin from Within by Dr. Cates. It's a really beautiful book. It has some great DIY skincare recipes in there. And then, some other for hormone specific, the Period Repair Manual by Dr. Laura Brydon is, I think, a book that really every woman should read at some point in their life. If the gene thing is something that really interests you, there are ways to kind of test what genes might leave you more susceptible to toxins. And so like for me, I know I've done these tests, and there's a couple specific genes that predispose me for chemical sensitivity. So I wasn't very surprised to see that those are positive. I used to recommend 23andMe a lot. I'm not doing that so much anymore now that, they have partnered with a drug company and are going to be doing research on genes. I just don't know like how safe our information is with them. So I've been referring to MaxGen Labs, which not only do they have great ethics as a company, but their reports are so easy to read, and the amount of information that you get from them is a lot more than you get from 23andMe, and it's less of a black hole, because 23andMe, there was a lot of hoops you had to jump through to get the raw data translated, and even then you had to figure out, well, what does this gene actually mean? Whereas MaxGen will just state right there, this person will have difficulty metabolizing B12. So really great company. And after going through this workshop, are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you feel like you need more support? I did, I sent this originally to someone to kind of review what we were going to be talking about. She said, I actually feel like I would need a full month to go through this stuff with you. And I thought, well, maybe it would be worth doing something along the lines of a 30-day hormone detox education and support group where we could have videos each week that were short and to the point and really help people understand where to start a little bit better with this. At least a week's worth of some hormone-friendly detoxification recipes, handouts for the castor oil packs, the dry brushing, all of that. For all the supplements that I use in my life or recommend to my patients, discount off of supplements, private Facebook group for ongoing support, and because I've never done a group like this before, maybe a big discount for being like beta testers for this. So I know I've got 2 people who are interested so far, but I'd like to have a pretty well-rounded group, so between 10 and 20 in order to run something like this. So Facebook message me, or you can email me at drkatierose.com if you're interested in something like this. And otherwise, I think that wraps everything up for today. So, like I said, if you have ongoing questions, you can reach out on the Healthy Hormone Tribe Facebook group, or you can private message me on Facebook or shoot me an email. So thank you all so much for joining. I hope you learned a lot, and thank you for watching. Take care.